My name is Strecker, and I work for the United Nations Environment Program, which in and of itself may seem not very exciting, but we do work on a project for young people 15 to 25 years old on sustainable lifestyles. And the idea is to say that us as individuals, as young people, we take decisions every day from the way we dress, what we eat, how we go to school, that have a negative impact on the environment, and it would be very easy to switch over to having positive impact.
Now, how we do that?
We simply reorganize ourselves. So we get to know, for example, public transportation systems, or we do car sharing and carpooling. Or when we buy our food, we think about where the food is made and how far it's traveled, and could I have found the same food or similar food in my country without having to go all the way across oceans. So yeah, that's some of the work that we do. The project is in many countries, in about 40 countries, and it's implemented by local partners, which means...
How do you do it? Because so you put that information together, and this is the training kit?
We put the information together, and it's got all these different chapters. So we're going to talk about sustainable, ethical fashion. We're going to talk about how do you get around, how do you go away on vacation and reduce your footprints. For example, we're going to talk about the Green Passport, which is an initiative that UNEP has done also on how you go in a new country and how you experience the culture, the food, everything about this country without having a negative impact on the country's environment. So we're going to tackle all these things that we do as young people. And our local partners, for example, our partners in Argentina, will take the guidebook, they're going to translate it, but they're going to also include case studies of local sustainable alternatives. And so these case studies will be, for example, a cooperative that sells organic food, or it'll be a group of women that are doing fair trade products or fair trade t-shirts. And so all these case studies are going to be incorporated in the guidebook so that when you think about ethical fashion, you don't just think about it, you also have ways to go out and take action on sustainable fashion.
Yeah. And so that is for school use or youth centers, or how do you work?
It's for 15 to 25-year-olds, and so we work in the formal education sector and the informal education sector. So, for example, again, I'll take the example of Argentina. We have an NGO called Consumers International that's working on the guidebook, and then we have a whole youth network called Geo Juvenil, Geo for Youth, that are getting trained on how do you talk about sustainable lifestyles, and that are then going into schools, organizing workshops, participating in conferences, and leading workshops on sustainable lifestyles.
Okay, and this is a resource that helps them when they take it to schools, because otherwise when you have nothing in your hands it's kind of difficult, is my experience.
Yeah, and sustainable lifestyles is also a hard topic. You know, we think sustainable lifestyles, we think it means we have to consume less, and not necessarily consume less, but consume more efficiently and consume thinking about the socio-economic and environmental impacts of the choices we make.
Cool. And how connect to this? Where can one get the brochure?
You can get it's called YouthXChange without an E, YouthXChange. You can go on the website, youthxchange.net, which I think the website, I don't have the website here.
I got it.
Okay, and if you email, there's an email address on the website, and we can send you copies of the guidebook to put in place, and all the guidebooks that are translated are put on the website. So you can download them as a PDF.
All right.
Yeah.
And what's next with UNEP's outreach education program?
What's next is strengthening the regions and creating storyboards, cartoon strips of how young people perceive sustainable lifestyles.
All right. So, hey, I remember I saw that somewhere here.
Yep.
Do you have something like that?
No, I don't have it here. They've taken it away. But the idea is we're doing a survey in 15 countries on how young people perceive sustainable lifestyles. What for them is a sustainable lifestyle? Is it applicable in their community? Are there already examples of sustainable lifestyles in their community? And so the idea here is to create sort of a vision of how young people want their future to look like in their everyday life.
And when is the survey published?
The survey will be published in January 2010.
And do you have some feedback already on the survey?
We have 4,000 youth that have taken the survey, knowing that the survey takes 1 hour to fill out, so it is a quite extensive survey.
And is it online? Or
it is online.
All right. Under which website? Because here we get interactive.
It's www.unep.fr/GSSL for Global Survey on Sustainable Lifestyles.
Okay. And have you already had a look at it? I mean, do young people in different countries have real different ideas what sustainable lifestyle really means?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I did this survey first with 15 young people to test it and get their feedback. And these were 15 young people from across the globe.
Yes.
And the Cuban said, this is nothing new. Our community has to be sustainable because we have no other way to do it. And for the person in Sweden, she said, well, this is a little bit new, but Sweden is already very sustainable. And for the person from America, they said, oh, this is great, this is a great idea. I could really do this in my community. So sustainable lifestyles has a very different concept depending on culture, and that's already coming out with these 15 young people. So it'll be interesting to see across, probably 8,000 questionnaires what young people think.
I try to get it to some indigenous people communities. That'd be some interesting other feedback. Okay. I always like to ask some kind of tip, suggestion, message to the young people in the world.
I think, a lot of people say that young people are the leaders of tomorrow. I think you're the leaders of today. So it's important to start, if you're not already acting as an individual, to act more as an individual, to make sustainable decisions and to influence your family, your community, and then that will expand to the rest of the world.
Cool. Thanks.